Today, we're taking things international with our very first global edition of The People We Meet. My guest today is the legendary Hans Troyer, who's only 10 races into his trail running journey and already making tidal waves. Hans's infectious energy, his growing obsession with the sport, and an attitude that simply won't quit immediately caught my eye. I genuinely believe he's one of the future stars of trail running, and that's exactly why I want to introduce you to him today. In this episode, Hans and I chat about how he got into trail running, what fuels his drive, the lessons he's learning along the way, and the mindset that's earned him the nickname The Destroyer. From racing highs to humbling lows, this conversation is full of raw honesty and big passion. Let's dive in. Welcome to the Trail Chasers, and hello from Cape Town, South Africa. Where about are you?
I'm in Georgia, in the United States.
Okay, amazing. Have you done a lot of traveling lately with all the running you've been doing?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I spent about 2 weeks in California leading up to the race at Western States. So it's about a 3-hour time difference. So coming backwards in time to Georgia, it's been a bit of I've been tired a lot in the past week trying to recover. But I went to the beach a couple hours away from here for a few days. So all is well and I'm feeling good.
So if you could kind of think across, and I mean, you can go into your life and, or athletics or whatever. What have kind of been those 5 most pivotal moments of your life career so far?
Oh, man, that's a good question. I think the pinnacle of my athletic career was Western States just 2 weeks ago. Because I mean, obviously, it's one of the biggest trail running stages in the world. So that was really cool. I mean, leading up to that, I think that the Bandera 100K, which is my first 100-kilometer race, just about a year and a half ago, was a really big moment for me because that was when I first kind of, I guess, figured out that I could maybe do something in trail running, which is really cool. And then a negative but defining moment in my career was after Black Canyon last year when I had some real kidney issues and I spent some time in the hospital, which really taught me a lot about the sport, probably for the better, even though it was really scary in the moment. And then I'd say those are probably the biggest moments of my trail running career. And I guess getting a golden ticket was a pretty big deal at Canyons a couple months, but it's still a really fresh career. So there's a lot of learning taking place.
Yeah. And, if you could have a business card for your life and everything you're doing, what would it kind of say underneath your name?
It would say Hans Troyer, God-fearing, trail runner, and people person. That's what my card would say.
I love it. And, if you say who were you kind of before the running, was there a time before running or was it from as far back as you can remember, there was always running?
Pretty much as far back as I can remember. I started in middle school. I mean, in middle school, I was also a basketball and a football player, but I'm not a very tall guy. So when I got to high school, basketball was kind of out of the question. But yeah, I know running's been around for what feels like forever to me. And it has a really special place in my heart. I love to run. I think that's the base of everything I'm doing here is I enjoy it. It's a good time. And regardless if I was succeeding in sport or not, I'd still be running. So
and take me through your kind of, I guess, your school and your, past that in terms of the sort of cross country and the sort of shorter distance stuff. How did you kind of get into that?
Yeah, so I started running track in middle school. I did, the basic, I think I did 800 and 1600 meter races in middle school. Then in high school, we jumped up to the 16 and the 32. And I was never anything special in high school. I ran decent times in cross country. I had, a decent 5K time, but I really just I found the love of working hard towards something. And I saw progress, which was the biggest thing for me. So I saw progress year in, year out, which kind of kept me obsessed with it. And it gave me the desire to run in college. So I exhausted my eligibility at Augusta University, go Jags for life. But I ran primarily the 10,000 meter and the 3K steeplechase in college. Same thing. I wasn't anything special. I think I ran 30-30 in the 10K and I was around nine teens in the steeplechase. So decent times, but nothing world class by any means. But same thing as in high school, I just kind of saw I was getting better each year. So when I finally graduated in 2022 or 2023, I can't remember now. I think it's 2023. Since I was still seeing progress, I decided to keep running, but I was more obsessed, less obsessed with the speedier side of things. There's always the people, go to the marathon. They're like, oh, let's go to a marathon. But for me, it was I know I can run 26.2 miles. That's nothing like intimidating or super exciting to me. But what was really exciting was, can I run 100 miles? That was what my head was at. I was like, can I even finish 100 miles, let alone like how fast can I run it? And so that was what I pretty much almost immediately decided to chase after post college, and that brings me to here. But yeah.
Yeah. And, growing up in Georgia, what was the kind of the running scene, I guess, like? And, were you kind of exposed at all to sort of like ultra running or, like trail running and things like that? Was it even in your world?
It was not. It was not in my world. I think living in the South in the United States, there's a lot of football players around here. The runners aren't quite as respected, maybe as some other parts. And there's definitely, for where I was at in Noonan, Georgia, like the running community is very, very small. So I didn't really know that trail running existed until like halfway through college. I started, I read a few books, like I read Killian Jornet's book, Run or Die. And then I read like Born to Run. And I read Eat and Run by Scott Jurek and like Dean Karnazes' book. And so like that was my first like introduction into trail running, was reading those books. But even just being an oblivious college kid, I didn't realize like, you'd see the 100-mile race winner would average like whatever 8:30 per mile, and my like little college brain was like, I can run 8:30 miles. So I was like, that's so easy. And I didn't quite realize like the terrain of these races and just how competitive they were. I didn't really figure that out until I actually started racing them myself. But yeah, so I had no idea what trail running was. I ran trails like in high school and stuff. Like I liked running trails, but I didn't know that there was like an entire competitive world around it until much later.
And when was that moment that, like the first time you kind of ran a trail that you're like, okay, this is the world I want to be in?
So post college, for fun, I actually decided to run like 50 miles just solo. I ran it on my parents' property. They have this like 0.8 mile like trail loop. So I guess just over like a kilometer, a little bit like 200 meters over a kilometer. And I ran it like 68 times or something over the period of like 8 hours for fun. And I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know anything about hydration or nutrition. So I just like ate goldfish and I drank like water and Mountain Dew and just ran I woke up like 4 a.m. and it was a Georgia July, which is really hot, like really hot and humid. So I just sent it and it was super painful. I was having like leg cramps by the end, but I did it. And I ran the whole 50 miles. And for me, that was like whoa, that was really cool. And I didn't train for it as good as I could have. So by the time I finished it, it was like, all right, if I were to have done blank, blank, blank differently and put in more miles here, like I definitely could have ran a lot faster. And so that was when I was like, all right, trail running. And yeah, I became obsessed with it pretty quick.
And I think two things I kind of pick up, is one is kind of, I guess, that like fearlessness, and maybe it kind of lends into the second one, which is that kind of like always learning type approach that you kind of seem to have. So where does that kind of come from?
Yeah, I mean, I always tell people like, I really think that I'm a world class. I'm really good at failing. Like I think that's a good way of putting it. Where like if I fail, like it doesn't make me lose motivation at all. I gain so much of it. And because I really do try to like learn off every experience and like learn from everybody I meet. I don't really know where that comes from, except for like just a passion for sport and hunger for getting better at running. So I really am like before Western States just 2 weeks ago, I was talking to somebody and they were asking me about strategy and stuff. And I was like, well, I'm going to kind of send it. Like I want to, if I have a great day, like I could do something really special and I don't want to, if that's there, then I want to take it. But at the same time, like I am really good at failing. So if I were to have just absolutely crapped the bed and done terrible, then I think my words were something along the lines of, you better watch out for me next year because I'm going to take a lot of what I learned and try and do better. And I think that's such an important mindset, but it's helped me a lot. And I'm still like learning like crazy. I mean, every race I feel like I haven't figured out, and then I learned 8 new things. So I can't wait for like 10 years from now, like all the lessons I'll have. It's going to be crazy.
It's incredible because, I think a lot of people, I guess, go into a race and if it goes really well, you're like, cool, yay, celebrate and then move on. And if it doesn't go well, you're like, I want to forget this thing as quickly as possible. So it's quite an incredible mindset to have. I mean, speaking of that kind of that mindset, how difficult has it been, I suppose, also like post, the hospital stay and things like that? How difficult has it kind of been to, I guess, become a little bit more professional and a little bit more, like tuned in and training and things like that when you've kind of approached it like this kind of do, fail, repeat kind of attitude for so long?
Yeah, that was the biggest learning experience ever. And like post hospital, I was at like rock bottom. I hadn't stood up in like 2 weeks. I mean, I maybe walked like 50 feet at a time. But so when I got out of the hospital, like I was in terrible shape. I had all the fears of it happening again. So yeah, I had to do a little bit more of a professional approach, like a smarter approach. So that just, changed my hydration game completely. But for me, like it was pretty easy to try and get back into it because like I said, I mean, out of college, I didn't know that I could be like a professional in this sport or anything. Like I was just doing it purely intrinsically motivated to see how good I could get. So it was pretty easy just to fall back on those foundations for finding trail running and be like, okay, well, I had a taste of success. Like I had some good races before that happened, and I have no idea if I can get back to that point. But regardless, like, I'm going to try, and it's exciting for me to try. So I immediately started training plans, and it was just 15, 20-minute run walks for a little while, stationary bikes with no resistance. It was just starting with square one, but I just built for months on end. And then by the end of the summer, I started to get back to where I was. And that was where the whole professionalization came in, where it was like, all right, so I'm about as fit as I was before the kidney incident. And I know that like I can be successful in this sport. So then I reached out to David Roach. We had chatted months before and I didn't quite know who he was at the time, but then I learned more about him and I was like, this guy really knows what he's talking about. So I, reached out to him and got better training. And then obviously like Hyperlight came along and we really dialed my hydration nutrition. So I started just taking more of I stopped being quite as careless with like racing. My training's always been pretty like, I'd say like dialed. Like I don't just go out and run for hours for no reason. Like everything has a point to it. But racing, it was a little different. I just kind of sent that with absolute like recklessness. So that changed a little bit where I still consider myself like an aggressive racer, but now I had, a team behind me and a plan, which I didn't have much before when it came to racing. So yeah, it was a pretty unique time and I'm happy to be where I am now with a great team behind me. But yeah, it was a big learning experience.
Yeah. And Hyperlight is the nutrition, hey, the documentary guys.
Yep. Nutrition and hydration.
Okay. And yeah, so talk to me, I guess, about that documentary. Talk to me about like meeting the Hyperlight guys. And, I've obviously seen the documentary, but how was that whole process kind of behind the scenes?
Oh, it was insane. I mean, when I first started chatting with Jeremy and Emery, are their names, we were talking about the product and stuff. And they hadn't even launched as a company yet. So it was completely like they didn't have bags yet. So they were sending me like these little Ziploc baggies full of product that I was trying out. And they mentioned the idea. They're like, hey, we think we should create like a documentary on your story. Immediately I was kind of like, eyes, like there's a lot has to happen for that to like be successful. And they were like, no, like we believe in you. Like we're going to make it happen. And I remember even talking to my agent and we were kind of like, behind the scenes, like, what are they talking about? It's insane. Like, it costs money to make these things. And like, I think I could do it, but it's just a huge risk. So we thought they were crazy. But sure enough, they were set on it. And so, they hired Brady, which is, the director of the film. And he's just like one of the coolest guys ever. But it was leading up to Black Canyon and they're from Texas, all of them. So they flew Brady out to Georgia and we just filmed for like 3 days. And it was actually hilarious because it rarely ever snows in Georgia. It snows maybe once every like 3 years. And then the week he comes to town, it like poured snow. And so
wow.
in every scene of the documentary, there's like snow on the ground, but it never snows in Georgia. So it's really funny. But yeah, we filmed for like 3 days and I immediately realized just how like professional he was. He brought all this like really fancy equipment, started interviewing my family, and it was surreal. I was like, this is crazy. This is pretty like high production. And then, yeah, so the whole purpose of the film was supposed to be Black Canyon failure of 2024, a big rise to Black Canyon success 2025. So there's a lot of pressure on Black Canyon and we did all the build up to it. We got out there. Everything was super exciting. The whole crew was out there. I felt good. And then day before the race, get the flu. It's terrible. It's so scary because, I mean, of course, I wanted to race that race so bad because I wanted my own redemption regardless of anything going on around me. But yeah, so I got the flu and I remember calling Jeremy and I was like, "Hey, I'm feeling a little bit sick." And he's like, "No, you'll be okay. You'll be okay." And I knew like what all this meant, like how much was out there to support me, whether it was Ultra or Hyperlight or the film crew or like everybody, my family was out there. And I was like, this is so bad. And so I tried so hard the day before to like get better. But ultimately, I woke up in the middle of the night, like 6 hours before the race start, and was just like high fever, throwing up, like terrible. I got the flu. So I felt awful. I remember like dreading the call with the Hyperlight guys because I knew what that meant. So then the weeks after, or, probably about a week after, I had told him, I was like, hey, like, I'm still trying to get a golden ticket at Canyons. Like, maybe this will still work. And at that point, they had already talked all about the film and how they could save it. Ultimately, Brady, the director, was like, hey, this might be perfect because like it's the perfect like hero's journey, of someone rising and then falling and they rise again. So they hit me with like a no pressure, but
Yeah, no pressure.
you can still make it happen. And they actually, like a couple weeks later, they reached out again and they were just like, hey, by the way, like if this is too much, like if this is too much pressure, just let us know. And like, we can drop it. Cause I mean, your running is more important than the documentary. Cause they're good guys. They do care a lot. And I was like, no, like I'm going to do it and it's going to be awesome. Like send them out there. Like I work well under pressure. We can make it happen. And so we doubled back for Canyons. The rest is history. I got second, got a golden ticket. They created the film and it was better than I ever could have imagined. I think Brady did a phenomenal job just putting it together in storytelling. And I was really, really happy to see it. And I'm glad that it's doing so well too. And I've gotten so many nice messages. So it's been awesome.
No, it's incredible. Do you kind of have like a distinct kind of before and after the documentary in terms of like how your life changed?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think that already like people say that getting a golden ticket will change your life for trail running. And I did experience that where, just like a bigger following and stuff and, more opportunities. But then the documentary came out and, the past like 3 weeks have just been like absolutely insane. And like, I'm so thankful for my team around me and, just people helping me out because like none of this would have happened without them. But yeah, no, it's been just a completely different experience. Like at races and stuff like at Western States, I got to talk to so many people and so many people were smiling and introduce themselves. And it was incredible. So just super, super grateful for everything.
And, growing up, what was the kind of the dream? What were you kind of striving for? What did you want to be?
Oh yeah. I mean, I've always wanted to be a world-class athlete. Whether when I was in fifth grade, I wanted to be a football player, American football player. When I got to high school, I wanted to be, a miler, like or a 10,000 meter runner, like a track superstar. And it's kind of been like just surreal past like year because I really feel like those dreams and aspirations were like slowly like fading away as I got older, where it was just like, I'm not as fast as other people are. And I started to like truly believe like, all right, it's not happening. Now, like all that external motivation really switched to intrinsic motivation, which ended up being the best thing for me because I became like just more confident and more excited for like the simple things. And then, by God's grace, I am here today and I'm living the dream of being a world-class athlete. Yeah, it's just surreal.
And was there a moment where you were like, okay, I belong at this level. I'm going to be a professional trail runner? Or has that moment not happened yet?
It's still not quite happened yet. There's still some imposter syndrome there where it's like, sometimes I really feel like I'm there and I'm doing it. And then other times, I'm like, I don't know if I like deserve this or I don't know if I'm, as fast as these other guys. And so there's definitely some imposter syndrome. And I don't know that I think that's running is like, you're never quite satisfied. I mean, you're always reaching for something that like might not quite ever like fulfill you. So it's an interesting thing. And like, I'm trying to learn right now what that's like, but I think I'm in a pretty cool spot.
I mean, it's probably also a difficult one, but what races kind of meant the most to you, or they all kind of had their unique kind of feelings around them?
They've all had like very unique feelings. Like they've all have a really special place in my heart. Cause I mean, I've only raced like 10 trail races, maybe not enough. Like I remember them all distinctly and what they meant and they all hit at the perfect time in my career. I really think like I'll use Western States. Obviously, that was my dream race. That's the one I've been talking about for a long time. And so like that one will always hold. Like when I look back at my entire running career, it's going to be Western States 2025 was like, that was amazing. But I think like the ones that will probably hold the most, like the most specialness in my heart would probably be Bandera 2024, the 100K. Just because that was the first one where arguably like it was a bigger, more competitive race because I'd only done like really small 50Ks in Georgia leading up to that. And I just ran at a really high level, which I believe that I could do, but I hadn't done it yet. And that race is just, it's so well put on and everybody's so nice. Like the aid stations were all getting involved. Like I had my parents there crewing for me and they got treated like royalty. And like, I just remember finishing and people were just smiling and walking up and talking to me and being like, that was incredible. And that was just like such a surreal thing for me. Cause like I'd never been that guy. I'd always been the guy that walks up to people and tells them how incredible they are. And so like, for that moment, it was just like a holy cow! I might be able to. I could maybe do this. Like that's cool. So that was probably that one probably has the most special moment in my heart right now. Is Bandera.
And taking back, I guess, to Western States, how was that? I mean, that experience must have been incredible.
It was incredible. It was so cool. I mean, like everybody out there, like the fans and stuff was so cool. Like at the escarpment and Forest Hill, it was just like tunnels of people, which was incredible. But then just from like a competition level, like I'm a fan of the sport. I'm not just like I don't just run. Like I like listen to the podcasts and watching the videos and stuff. So being on the start line with so many of these like huge names was just so cool to me. Obviously Killian, like he's Killian. So that was so cool. I remember we were about halfway up the escarpment and I looked to my left and we're running right beside each other. And I was just like, wow. And so I said something like, hey, you don't have to answer, but I just wanted to tell you, like, I read your book. I'm a big fan. Like, you really helped me get into trail running. And he was nice about it. And then like, I talked to like Adam Peterman a little bit, David Roach, who's my coach. Like we got to chat and we had never raced each other before, but we all had small conversations and I just got to talk to so mmany of people that I would consider some of my heroes in the sport. So that was just a bit surreal because I mean, we're running on like one of the biggest stages in the world and, it was just cool. It was really, really difficult, really difficult. I did take the lead of the race around mile like 37 just because I felt really good.
Losing my mind, but then everyone's like, chill. It's just the beginning. Like, relax.
Yeah, I should have relaxed, but I just felt like it felt so easy and so flowy for that stretch of the race. And so I was just like, I think we were running like some 6:15, 6:20 miles. And I just felt so easy. And so I took the lead and I was like, this is my day. I was like, I'm going to win this thing. It's going to be legendary. And then it was only about 10 miles later where I was like, oh my gosh, this is so hard. And I even hit a point around like mile 45 to 50 range, maybe 50 to 55, where it was like, I don't know if I'm going to finish the race today. I was like, I'm struggling. Like the quads got shot in the canyons and then it got really hot. So things started to go poorly around that like 50 to 55 range. And but that's something that I've like that I'm going to have to think more on over the next year is like there's so many ups and downs in a 100-miler that I was not expecting, because then I hit Forest Hill at 62 and I was running and I was hyping up the crowd and everything was awesome. And I was once again in the race. And then another 10 miles later, I was same thing, rock bottom, where I was like, there's no way I can finish this race. And that probably happened like 5 more times throughout the entire race, where it's just like either I was on top of the world or I was having really low. But I think just navigating the lows was going to help me a lot. But yeah, no, it was super, super difficult. I mean, I'm really happy to have gotten 8th because I get to try again next year. Yeah. I think I'm not exactly sure, but I think it was a pretty slow time for 8th. So I think I got a bit lucky, but I keep telling myself that I dealt with the attrition better than some of the other people. So maybe I still deserve it. Maybe I don't, but, I'm pretty thrilled to get 8th because, what I told my crew before the race is like, either I'm trying to win the race or I'm going into top 10 mode just to try to get back for the next year. So I was trying to win the race for the first like 45 miles. And then I switched to top 10 mode. And it worked out, but yeah.
And what are you what have you thought about, like, in terms of next year, in terms of changing, what have you kind of thought about the lessons you learned and what you'll take into next year's race?
A little bit, yeah. I've been thinking more about a lot of the simple things, I wore these arm sleeves and they fit tight at the start, but then they got wet, they got baggy. So like I was putting ice in my arm sleeves and they ended up like it just like grouped up and the ice would fall out. And my shirt was a little bit baggy as well. And then obviously like pacing could be a little bit different. I don't necessarily think that we need to go out quite as fast. Although I do think that's just the way the Western States is going now, where it's, you kind of got to go with the top pack. If you don't, you're just going to be behind the entire time. So, not going to say that I'll go out slower next year. I think it's just being more prepared for the attrition. I did do a lot of like downhill training to try and get the quads going, but I really feel like the downhills that I was doing in Georgia just weren't the same as the Western States downhills. In Georgia, it's a lot more like rocky, rooty, technical downhills where you have to take just small steps and watch every step. And then the California carpet trails, it's like you're still doing like a full stride downhill, which I think is ultimately just a little bit harder on the quads. So I don't know if I was necessarily prepared for that type of downhill. So I think training wise could be a little bit different. And then heat management wise can be a little bit different. I want to do a little bit more focused stuff on like internal cooling, whether it just be like cold water at aid stations or trying to find a way to have cold bottles throughout. I think that would play a big difference. And then, there's a lot of small things and I'm going to be thinking about it a lot. And I still need to like, chat with my coach and stuff and talking for the race. But I've been trying to let it sink in because I think directly after the race, every thought is built on emotion. And then, a week or so later, you start to develop more logic into your thinking. And so when you find that sweet spot between emotion and logic post race, that's when you need to start like writing things down. So I'm starting to get to that point where I feel like I can rationally make some decisions that will benefit me for next year. But yeah.
And how's that process of, processing these kind of big results? How's that kind of evolved, since 10 races ago?
Yeah. I think that it's been different. I haven't thought about that a whole lot. I think that when I was first getting into it, it was more just like, that's a good question. I don't know how it's evolved necessarily. I think that it is a little bit more like professional and logistic thinking now. And a big thing with these longer races is like in the moment in the race, everything seems like borderline impossible, where like hypothetically, I mile 91 when I walked up that hill, or 92, I don't know what mile it was, but I walked up some of the hills and did a little bit of walking near the end of the race. And now 2 weeks later, it's like, I should have just ran. Like, why didn't I run? I could have done it. And I think, a year ago, Hans would have been like, yeah, like, why didn't you just run it? Like, you should have done it. And now I'm starting to think a little bit more logically, where it's like, okay, well, in that very moment, like, you couldn't have done it. And so now I got to think of ways for next year to not just like operate on a higher level emotionally, but like actually like logistically operate on a higher level. So I think it's just more a professional way of thinking, but I'm still a pretty emotional kid. So I'm competitive too. So I start to overthink things, but yeah.
And how do you kind of keep yourself grounded in when things kind of get tough or things get, like now that I suppose also that kind of conversation around, pre-Western States and post-Western States, how do you kind of return to that person you were and kind of that grounded, like no frills, no fuss kind of guy?
Yeah. I mean, I think that I had an answer for how it was.
Your family?
I'd say, yeah, family helps a lot. Like obviously my wife Grace keeps me humble. She has a way of keeping me level headed. I think also just like mindset of like going into races as the underdog and leaving races as the underdog kind of just makes everything easier. But yeah, between like my family, obviously, like if I go home and spend some time with my mom, my dad, my brothers, like instantly I'm just brought back down to earth and you remember what's important. My faith is a big aspect of my life. And regardless of if I'm winning races or not winning races, like I know that I'm still loved by God. So that plays a big part in who I am. And that helps a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of small things. Golf, disc golf helps. I can go out and throw some discs in the woods and everything's okay for a little while. So.
Trail running beats up everything, your legs, your lungs, and especially your feet. The last thing you need is socks that give up before you do. That's why I'm thrilled to announce that this season of Trail Chasers is sponsored by Gilnockie Socks. These aren't just your run-of-the-mill socks. Gilnocki socks are made for people who demand more performance, more durability, and more comfort. They're designed to prevent blisters with premium moisture-wicking materials that keep your feet dry no matter how long or muddy the trail gets. Plus, they're treated with HydroCool and Silver Plus, so they stay fresh, breathable, and ready for your next adventure. Since I started using Gilnocki socks, I haven't had to stop mid-run to adjust or worry about discomfort. They just keep working mile after mile, run after run. So why settle for socks that don't keep up? Visit gilnocki.com and use the code TRAILCHASERS at checkout for 20% off your first order. Trust me, once you try them, you won't go back. Your feet will thank you.
How's your kind of relationship with suffering and that like kind of pain cave, that whole kind of concept? How has that kind of evolved, since the beginning?
Yeah, I was too good at it at first, and that's what happened at Black Canyon. Is I was too good at suffering, and I really dug myself into a hole. I still think I'm pretty good at it. Like really just finding a lot of like goodness in the pain. Like at Western States, like, I was really, really hurting at the end. And I do a lot of just like self-talk where it's just like, dude, like you wanted this, like you signed up for this race because like, and it's just such a special feeling because there's nothing like it. It's like borderline survival where it's like, you can only experience those type of emotions and like that deep of like a discomfort in something like that. And so I almost trick myself and convince myself that that's something that I crave. And when I get there, it's like, all right, I've made it. Now, like, let's learn about myself. And then you have big learning experiences, but it's just tricking the brain to enjoy it and want it, which is really hard in the moment because it gets so difficult and you just want to be done. But like at Western, between the mile, I would say, let's say 80 to 90, it was pure just like, I want to be done. I'm hurting so bad. And then by mile 90, I kind of tricked myself into like, all right, you only got 2 more hours or whatever of like this feeling that you're not going to experience till next year. Like kind of soak it up, like enjoy this hardship in the moment. And it's easier said than done. And it's easier said now that I'm done with the race than was in the moment. But it's just trying to enjoy it.
Do you feel like you've kind of also pulled it a little bit back, that it won't ever kind of get to the point where you were, when you kind of landed up in hospital?
Yeah, I think that there's been a big change with like, I know what not taking care of yourself looks like now. And so I don't think that the mental, like I'm still able to push just as hard as I was. But now I'm just taking care of myself, which is a big thing. And I do know like the difference between like actually something very unhealthy for me and then something that's just going to make me sore for 2 weeks. And so that was the difference. Like at Black Canyon, when I did all of that, I was mentally pushing just as hard as I was at Western States, but like I had no water in my body and no carbs. And so I didn't understand like what was truly happening. So nowadays, like hypothetically at Western States, if I had like a 7-hour gap where like I didn't pee, I would put my mental game to rest and I would say my physical health is at jeopardy and I would have like DNF the race. Like that's the maturity that I've made it to now. But for like Western, I was still like peeing relatively every, let's say, hour, 2 hours, and I was still getting down some carbs. So mentally, I knew like my physical health was not at jeopardy, and I'm allowed to enter the pain cave and work really, really hard because I'm not going to do any damage to my body. So that's been the maturity side of it in the sport. But yeah.
And your relationship with Ultra, and I also remember in the documentary where you're like, I'm not sponsored by anyone, and how's that kind of evolved? Obviously you've got Ultra and you've got Hyperlight now, but like, what is that like,
Oh, it's incredible. I mean, I say in a lot of my YouTube videos, it's like, I have one of the best teams in the world. And like, I really believe that. And with Ultra, like I was already, a big fan of the product and whatnot. And then when that all happened, it's just been so cool because what I didn't expect in like the professional world is like all the company relationships are like personal, which is the coolest thing to me. It's like there's real people sending me texts every day and we like get to create these relationships and they're just there to help me. And so like I want to help them as much as I can. But just having like belief from companies going into races, it personally gives me a lot more confidence. Like I don't feel like more nervous to perform. If anything, I feel honored that I have people behind me and trying to do everything they can to help me. But no, it's pretty incredible. It's a really cool thing.
Yeah. And, there's obviously this whole thing around, racing in America, racing in Europe, racing all over the world. And obviously, I guess it probably feels quite insulated in America sometimes. It has its kind of own universe and own kind of culture and things like that. Have you given thought to, like furthering your running, or is it kind of like, cool, I want to conquer America and then, start looking beyond the borders?
Yeah, I mean, I for some reason I'm like super obsessed with Western states. Like, I would love to conquer Western states. However, I'm really interested in like the European scene. Like, I'll be running CCC next year. I got a qualifier for that. Yeah, from Canyons this year. So next year the schedule's looking like Western States and CCC will probably be like the A races of the season, and CCC will be a learning experience next year. Like, it's going to be, I'm sure, a whole different world of running, different terrain, different atmosphere, which I'm really excited to experience. So yeah, I don't know about like completely conquering the US. Like, I think I'll branch out and do a little bit of both over the coming years, but I kind of see myself like kind of doing what Jim has done, where he kind of super targets a race and masters it and then moves on and conquers something else. I kind of see myself following those same footsteps, where it's like I kind of obsess over certain things. And right now it's like I'm obsessed with Western states. So I can hopefully see myself doing that for a few years and trying to conquer it. Most likely. We'll see. Maybe I run CCC and I'm just like, oh, this is the stuff. I got to keep doing this. And I switch over to the UTMB route. Not sure. But no, I'm really excited. Like, I really enjoy like the exploration side of the sport. So, I'm really excited that I don't have to push for a golden ticket for next year. Like, I'm already in. So I can hypothetically like run some cool races that like just really excite me instead of just pushing for a golden ticket, which is really cool. Don't have too many races picked out yet. Not yet, but I'm sure we'll all find some cool ones.
Yeah. And how do you kind of feel about, I guess, that sort of nomadic traveling kind of lifestyle, speaking kind of what Jim, kind of did, and would you kind of go to that kind of length as like living, in France for a year to kind of conquer something? Does that appeal to you?
Yeah, it appeals to me. I mean, I do I just spent pretty much 3 weeks away from home. Like, we just got back here like a couple days ago, and I will say it's nice to sit on the couch and like take a deep breath and be like home. But I find like so much joy in like just spending that time in California was so neat. And I met so many people and I saw so many new things. And so hypothetically, like, if me and my wife, Grace, could both like, do all these things together, like that's really cool. And I could see myself traveling around to master certain elements of the sport, like Jim did. But yeah.
And what else, beyond the kind of trail running, what else kind of excites you in that world? Obviously, you've dived quite deep into sort of the social media and content side. So what else is kind of like appealing to you, right now?
Like, in terms of the social media side, or
as content and creating content and around that?
Yeah. No, I created a YouTube channel when I first got into trail running. And the reason for creating it was just I wanted to have videos that I could go back and watch for myself, and just to be like, oh, I remember when I ran Fats 50K. Like, that was a really cool day. Like, look at Grace and I smiling. Like, that's fun. So that was the reason I created the channel. And then, I started to get a few subscribers and stuff. And I was like, oh, this is cool. Like, some other people are actually like watching it. And since then, it's actually turned into something really cool where like there's kind of a whole fan base around it, which is really cool. Like, I have, my sayings. I say young and fit, and these are the times. And it's been really neat to kind of explore that. And I'm not doing anything special. Like, my friend Kai will sometimes film and edit, and he makes really, really cool videos that I'll put on there. But then the videos that I make, like, I just film it on my iPhone and I edit on like iMovie on the iPhone. I post them. Like, they're nothing special. And they're just fun to make though. And then some people are watching them. So like, it's turned into a thing where like, I still consider myself a runner more than anything. Like, that's what I take pride in, is being a runner. But I'm starting to hit that like YouTuber scale where it's like I could be considered a YouTuber now, which is kind of bizarre. But yeah, no, I think it's fun. It's a good thing just to consume some of my time. And like I said, it's their joy to make. So I'm going to keep doing it.
Yeah. And I mean, I think it's become more and more important, like building a brand around, who you are and your running. Do you kind of see the importance of that, beyond like just kind of winning races?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, your athletic, like peak athletic career is only so long. Like, in trail running, luckily, it's pretty long. I mean, you can go, if you play your cards right, into your 40s pretty easily, and stay at a pretty high like competitive level. But like, life goes on after that. So I'm going to need some outlets. And I think, whether that's coaching down the road, which I just, I got my master's degree in kinesiology, graduated this year. So it's like, I think I have some credibility to probably coach down the road. Or if it's, if YouTube continues to go well, like there's just so many like small things I want to keep doing, because I know like there's a lot of, like, it's hard to compete at a very high level for like your entire life, obviously. So I want to create like a personal brand that will last, like stay with me for longer than, maybe some other brands would. So yeah, it's important. And I'm trying to think long term, but I'm also really just enjoying running, and just want to keep doing that.
And what do you kind of want people to take away, when they meet you or when they kind of discover you? What is kind of important to you that people kind of leave that moment or that, watching one of your videos, take away with them?
Yeah, I mean, I really like, I like to think that I really care about people, and I care about each and every person individually. So if they meet me in person, I want them to be like, he was smiley, he wanted to know about me. And because I do, like, I genuinely care for people. And the same thing with like the YouTube channel. Like, I want people to see that I'm a regular person, and I have struggles just like everybody else, and we're all in it together. That's kind of what I'm getting at. But yeah.
And what does success look like in the kind of long run? You did mention life beyond running, but like next 2 years, next 3 years, next 10 years. What is the vision, the future look like?
I mean, for running, I'm shooting for the stars. I want to be one of the best trail runners in the world. I think I said it in the documentary. I don't want to just run Western States, but I want to win Western States. And I don't want to just run UTMB, but I want to win UTMB. Like, I really do just want to like continue to climb the ladder and learn. Maybe I can be one of the greats one day for running. In terms of life, I want to have kids one day. I want to be a family man, and see some things on Earth that I hadn't seen before. Yeah, I really think that family is important to me. I've had a great family life my entire life. Like, my parents are fantastic. My brothers are great. We still all hang out often, and so I want to make sure that when I have kids and with Grace, my wife, that we're family people, and so family first.
What is the kind of best piece of advice you've kind of been given, and what is the advice you would give to someone, starting out their kind of trail running journey?
I would say, for me, I really think it's just, you got to find some intrinsic motivation. You got to find a why in what you're doing. Like, there's not an option in my head when it comes to missing runs. Like, I don't miss runs. Like, I do them. And why do I do all of them? I couldn't tell you. I don't know, but it's just something I do. Like, I have this deep internal desire to be consistent and train and I have so much fun with it. Like, you got to find some joy, find some fun, and just like, and yeah, these are the times where this is the youngest and fittest I'll be from now on. And, I enjoy it. And I think that's the most important thing is like, I'm only a week and a half post 100-miler. And like, I ran this morning and I was like so happy to wake up and run. Like, I missed it. I had to take like 6 days off after the race. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to run again. So I really feel like if you have any sense of that, where it's just like, you're excited to be doing what you're doing, regardless of outcome necessarily. Like, obviously doing good is good. Like, I like doing good, but like, if I wasn't doing good, like, I'd still be trying. But yeah, it's just find your why. Why are you running?
What does the kind of the rest of the year look like? Have you kind of thought about it? Are you still in the sort of down period? What's on the cards?
Yeah, we're a little bit in a down period right now, but I will be running like 99%. We'll be running the JFK 50-miler later this year. Trying to run fast, and then I'll probably do some sort of race before that. I haven't picked it out yet, but I'm assuming maybe like a 50K or maybe a 50-miler, just as like a tune-up, but I still want to run a competitive race for that. That's what I'm thinking about right now, but I haven't chatted with coach or sponsors or anything to see if they have anything in mind. But yeah, I'm thinking 2 more races this year, but most likely nothing over a 50-miler, just to save the legs a bit.
Yeah.
But
and is the JFK, is that a road race?
It's so not technically. I think it's in New York. I could be wrong, but it's like I think it has like 3,000 feet of vert. So, but all the vert comes in the first like 15 miles. So it's like you run some trails for the first 15 miles, and then you get out and it's like flat gravel road for the next
Very interesting.
35 miles. So it's fast, but not a road race. Like I think the course record was set last year. It was like 5 hours and 9 minutes. So low sixes throughout the entire race. So it's speedy, but it's still considered a trail race.
Sure. It sounds super. When is it?
I think it's late November.
Okay, cool.
I actually don't know.
Yeah.
It's either late October or late November. One of those two, but later this year.
Okay, cool. And what is your kind of most memorable moment from the kind of the 10 races that you've done so far?
I think I have two where it's just like, that was really cool. I think the first one was at Black Canyon 2020. Hayden Hawks and I were leading the field by a good bit. And we were just pushing, and I felt really good. I could tell he felt good. And I wasn't talking to him because I knew that, he was a big name professional, and I was like just this kid that was there. And so he finally turned around though, and he just said like I think he like introduced himself or something, and I knew who he was at the time. And then we chatted, and he just said like, "Hey, let's run this thing in like Connor Mance and Clayton Young," because they had just done the Olympic trials like a week before or something, and they ran it in pretty much like hand in hand. And I was just like, "Wow, that was so cool!" Because this big name pro is like, "Dude, let's like we can do this together." That was a really cool moment for me, just because I was, like I said, so new in the sport, and having like a professional talk to me like that was really cool. And then I'd say the second most memorable and something I'll remember my entire career was at Western States last week when I was running. We were probably in like the 15-mile range ish, and we were on top of like the ridge in the high country still. And just the views like left and right of the course were like amazing. Like they were so beautiful. We were so high up, and Killian was actually right behind me at the time. And I kept like peeking looks left the entire time just to try and see the view, but not trip over anything. And I heard Killian, he just said like, "It's beautiful, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Yeah, Killian, it is beautiful." I got to share a moment with Killian Jornet, which is incredible. So I'll never forget that moment. That was really cool.
And how does it kind of feel, coming into the sport and at this kind of stage, where you're technically like the future of the sport, but you're still getting to compete against these like massive names, but you still have to kind of like bide your time. How does that kind of feel?
Really cool. I mean, like I said, I'm obsessed with learning, and like obviously Killian knows pretty much everything. So that's really cool. I mean, I feel like honored in a way. Like I got to talk to Jim just a little bit at the like a week before the race, and it's just cool because like I really, like I said, I see myself following like a similar timeline as a lot of these guys, and so it's almost like looking into the future a bit. And I feel like they are almost looking into the past, because I overheard someone say that like Jim said that like a lot of the things that I was like talking about, or like my qualities, is kind of how he felt when he was 25, 26. And it's like, it's just really cool to me to be like, wow, maybe I am following the track of these like absolute legends. And obviously like a ton has to happen, and I got to keep my head straight and keep doing the right things for any of this to happen. And I know that, but just to think that I'm even close to being on a similar timeline is just like really freaking cool to me. And it's an honor. So yeah.
That's very, very cool. Yeah. Amazing, man. Well, thank you so much for taking time. I really do appreciate it. And
absolutely.
I'm super stoked to see where you go from here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It's a lot of fun.
Awesome.
Subscribe to the Trail Chasers today and ensure that you never miss an episode. And if you know someone thinking about starting trail running, share this with them. It might be the nudge they need to join you.